everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for today's Live at 5 session. Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week because we get to gather together like this, even though it's virtually, and just chat about all of the different things that are happening at Carleton and all of the different aspects of the student experience, answer your questions, and really just see what's on your mind. So definitely use today to learn more, not only about making Carleton home and our residents' experience, but if you have questions, this is a great place to ask them. If you navigate to the top, you should see a little Q&A button. Feel free to pop your questions in there as we go. If they're residents related, we're going to be answering a number of those live right at the end. But if there are other ones, we have folks here from our office and undergraduate recruitment, as well as international admissions and recruitment, and our housing office, who can help make sure that we get you the answers that you need. My name is Caitlin Anderson. I'm the National Recruitment Officer here at Carleton, and I love just getting to chat with you. Residence is always one of my favorite topics because it really is like a community within a community. And I got to live in residence in my third year. I'm from Ottawa, so I didn't live in residence in my first year, but a lot of my friends did, so I spent a lot of time there. And in my third year, I was actually a residence fellow in one of our buildings, which is like an upper year student who lives on the floor to help students find their way. So if you have questions on anything Carleton related or residence related, I'm so excited to answer those here today. Before we get started and too far into what is residence all about, I like to make a space at the start of each of our presentations to acknowledge the location of Carleton and Carleton's residents. Carleton is located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, if you don't already know that, but we're also located on traditional and unceded Algonquin territory. And this is something that's important to me, to us as staff and faculty, and to our student community, to recognize the privilege that we have to grow together and to learn together on this territory, the beautiful land that we have. And it's always exciting to see what's happening. There's so much happening when it comes to Indigenous learning and connections and opportunities to grow, recognize what we still need to learn. And a lot of that is also happening in residence. There's lots of exciting events and ongoing opportunities to learn there as well. And if you're interested in hearing what's happening with Indigenous relations at Carleton, events, opportunities, all of those pieces, I encourage you to go to carleton.ca/Indigenous and take a look at all that's happening, because there's a lot and I could do a whole session on just what's happening there. But today we're going to chat about residence. Residence is an exciting place to be. It really becomes your home away from home. I remember when my best friend moved into residence in first year, she always said, "It's okay, Caitlin, I'll come home on the weekend and I'll see you every weekend." And it took me about 3 weeks to realize she was never coming home on the weekend because she had found her own space in residence, which is exactly what we want to see. You have your roommate and your floor mates, the students that share the buildings with you, that go to the cafeteria, that are using the tunnels. You really find this really cool community of students that gather in residence. And a lot of those students are first years, and we'll chat about why that is in a couple of slides, but there are a lot of students in residence that are also upper year students, be that residence fellows or community managers who are there to help support the residence experience, or upper year students who are living in upper year student buildings in residence, which creates a really cool environment of learning together and really learning from upper year students what it is that you might need to know while you're in residence. So it's a really cool place to be, and it really does become your home away from home, not just because that's where you're sleeping every night, but because that's where you find a lot of the people that you will continue to engage with, and a lot of friends and friendships that last a lifetime. Our residence itself, our community is made up of about 3,600 people, which is a lot of people, but they're spread out over 11 residence buildings. And the really great thing about residence buildings on Carleton's campus is that they're all in the same general space. So it's not like you need to be worried about what residence building is located the farthest from campus. All of our residence buildings are all located on campus and all in the same general area. They're basically all centralized around around our Residence Commons building, which has our amazing cafeteria, which takes over like a whole floor of Residence Commons and really becomes a gathering space where students hang out. A lot of students will spend more time in there studying, but also just a great place to go and eat. And if you don't need to make your own food all the time, and you won't if you're in a traditional room, the cafeteria is the best place to eat. It's probably one of the things that I have missed the most in the last 2 years, while it's been restricted just to resident students, is the food in the cafeteria and the diversity of food that we have. But there is so much happening within that residence community in those 11 buildings. They're all in the same area, and they're also all connected by our tunnel system. So it really makes it easy to not only get between residence buildings, but also get between residents and the rest of campus. So if you're coming to Carleton directly from high school or CEGEP, as part of your offer to Carleton, you'll also get an offer to residents. This offer is for a traditional double room, which, like the one in the photo there, is one room, 2 people sharing it. Your bathroom is then attached and shared with the 2 folks in the room next to you. So that's our traditional double room, and that's the majority of our rooms on campus. So something to keep in mind as you start to think about residence is if you've never shared a room before, this will be a new experience. But you each get your own bed, your own desk, your own chair at that desk, your own little bookshelf, and students often make this room really feel like they're home away from home by their decorations, like you can see the photos on the wall or posters. Students bring in bedspreads that represent their personalities, and it's always interesting to see how students make this space their home, especially while they're adapting that with a new roommate. It's really important, and we will mention this several times, that if you're planning to come to residence, that you accept your offer by the deadline. So the deadline to accept your offer to residence is June 8th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So June 8th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you walk away from here today with one thing, it's that you will accept your residence offer before the deadline. So that's letting us know that you do intend to live in residence in the fall and submitting your deposit of $700. So I always say, once you know, you know. If you're planning to live in residence, you can accept your offer now anytime. So that form is open to go and accept your residence offer. You will need to have accepted your offer to Carleton first, then your offer to residence, pay your deposit, and then know that you're done well ahead of that June 8th deadline. But it comes up faster than you think, so make sure that you've got that deadline in your calendar and that you're planning to meet it at least a few days in advance, if not a month or so in advance, so that it's just all done. Once you've accepted your offer to residence, they'll also have you fill out a residence information form. And this form is super important because it gives us information on how we can best match you with your roommate or your suite mates into a building, what all that looks like. It's going to look at your preferences for a roommate, a lot of that information that we need to pair up, as well as if there's any special accommodations that you need, or if you'd like to request potentially a single room or a suite style room. All of that is done on the residence information form. So really important that you take your time on filling that out, and that you as the student is actually the one who fills out the residence information form, so that all of the information is relevant to you and the answers that you would actually give. I always like to say at this point, when my sister was younger and she got a workaway summer camp job, one of the questions that they asked her is if she was a morning person. My sister never woke up before 10 a.m. unless somebody did it for her. And she said, yeah, I'm totally a morning person, and then got assigned the 6 a.m. shift and was miserable for the whole summer. And when I came into residence as a residence fellow in my 3rd year, I could tell the students who hadn't necessarily thought their whole way through the residence information form, right? If you are a morning person, or if you need a quiet space, these are all important things for you to evaluate as you're filling out the form. So you're filling it out accurately so that we can get you the best roommate for you. So take your time with those. But if anything you walk away from today, remember that June 8th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern timeline deadline to accept your offer to residents. I talked about the cafeteria and the dining experience a little bit earlier, but really it's important to say that when you're coming to residence, if you're living in that traditional style room like most students are, you have an all access meal plan. So this means come in and out of the cafeteria as much or as little as you'd like, eat as much or as little as you'd like, and know that you have access to the cafeteria. Again, it's like a whole floor of our Residence Commons building. And it's got a bunch of different food stations. So if you're interested in, if you just want to go in and grab a slice of pizza, you can grab a slice of pizza. But they also cater to all different dietary restrictions, including gluten intolerances, vegan diets, halal, all of those different pieces. And it's a really great place to go in and eat. And I find students always gravitate towards specific meals, or they have specific stations that they like. But the nice thing is that a lot of them also rotate. So things are constantly changing, and the cafeteria is always looking for new ideas. And it's always interesting for me still on this side to see the amount of outreach that they do to students to say, what are you interested in seeing in the cafeteria? So this week they've been doing a plant-based menu for a lot of the week. So one of the big stations that they're doing is rotating a bunch of plant-based options. So they've done tacos, they're doing different plant-based desserts, and they're rotating it every day, kind of highlighting what a plant-based style can look like, and giving students and residents a whole new offering of a bunch of different meals. So the cafeteria is amazing. It's also amazing to see students go in with their roommates, find a place to sit down and hang out or connect with students from other buildings, and really just know that you'll be well taken care of and well fed while you're living in residence. So the dining experience is great, but even better than that is the community that they foster within residence. And there's lots of things that come within that. Resources like your upper year residence fellows, the residence managers, the community managers, and the staff that are there to support you. Upper year student mentors who are there to help run programs and get you connected, but also the resources that they make available just to resident students. So recently they put in like a smaller gym in one of our buildings in residence. So if you don't want to walk all the way over to the main gym facilities, they've got a number of those facilities located in residence. There's also residence counseling. So if you're looking for counseling, they have a residence counselor who's within the residence community that's there for you as a resident student. They also have like a dietitian on staff in the cafeteria to help you manage any dietary restrictions. And probably my favorite location in residence is one of the ones that's a little bit more hidden. On the tunnel level of Stormont Dundas is the Ravens Roost. And it's a great place for students to go and hang out, get connected, play games, and really find community and find friends. So there's so much happening in residence, and there's so many ways to make it your home away from home, be that using the gym facility, finding community, getting help, getting connections, but really the whole residence community is there to help you succeed and help you really make Carleton your space to be. So not only are you going to classes and getting help academically, but this is social and emotional help. It can also sometimes be academic help, just helping you figure out where to go, but really kind of creating a space for you to be the best version of yourself and to find so many people that you can be friends with. And the diversity that exists within this home away from home in residence is amazing. I was in residence last week for some of our March break events, and they had put up this really cool map that showed all of the destinations the students in residence were coming from, and it was literally all over the world, not only all over Canada, but all over the world, and breaking down all the different programs that students were in. And really, I saw almost all of our programs on there. And it was awesome to see that all of these people come together in this one place, not only to live, but to be a community together and to support each other. And I also see a number of students who live in residence, not only just in their first year, but beyond. So if if you're coming to Carleton from away, if this is your first time moving away from home, residence is a great place to catch you in first year, to know that you've got support and you have friends and you have community. But I also know a number of students who remained in residence, who lived in residence in second year and third year and fourth year the whole way through and applied for residence each year, so that they didn't need to worry about where else in Ottawa they could live. There are lots of spaces off campus too, but it's always interesting to see the students who choose to live in residence even after the first year because of the community that they've found. So there's so much happening in residence, and if you have any questions on anything that we've said so far, navigate over to that Q&A, pop them in there. We'd love to answer your questions. And by we, I mean, I would love to bring forward our friend Wanda from residence. So she is our recruitment coordinator over in residence. She's been in residence a long time and has got lots of great experiences. And I'm actually going to switch me out with Wanda on your screen, and you'll hear my voice in the background as we ask Wanda a couple of your questions to hopefully get you some great information on preparing for residence. So maybe I'll kick it off, Wanda. One of the questions we get all the time is, how, can I live with somebody that I know, and how can I make that happen?
Thank you, Caitlin. You did a great job. So yes, roommate choice. On that residence information form that Caitlin was referring to, there will be the opportunity for you to choose a roommate group. And that way, the person or people that you choose to roommate will provide you with their student number, and then you will set up the group, and then it will forward a message to them, and they will accept that, yes, they are interested in being your roommate. The roommate choices that way are almost 100% guaranteed, unless you make severely different choices within your residence information form. So if you're looking to room with a friend and one of you should happen to ask to be in a particular type of community, like an all-female floor or a quiet floor or a substance-free floor, and the other doesn't, or one possibly asks to live in a single and the other is saying they want to live in a double, then we may have to do some emailing back and forth to just make sure that you're both on the same page. And typically we will go that extra mile, but it's a lot easier if you do it for us.
Yeah, that's great. There's always a number of students who come to residence and already have someone in mind. But yeah, it's important that you indicate the same thing, yes, so that we can partner you together.
And some of those questions are, do you prefer quiet? Do you, as your example, do you wake early? Do you stay up late? Honestly, those don't have to match so much. It's choice of room and any particular type of floor. Those are the things that we have to take a second look at. But is one quiet? Even if one smokes and one doesn't, if you've asked to be together and you've both said yes, your chances are very good.
That's awesome. Maybe you can share a little bit more about those different types of floors. I know most of the floors are general, but you indicated a few different types of floors. What are the ones that students can request?
So we have a couple of different floors. We have single gender, which typically now are all female. We don't seem to get enough all male asking to fill a floor. So it's unfortunately, we get more students who request the all female floor. We have quiet floors. So it's not, you can hear a pin drop, but it's definitely the students who are more geared to study, and it's a little quieter on a regular basis. And then we have the substance-free floor. So these students won't be consuming alcohol going out, and they won't be consuming alcohol on the floors, even if they're of age, and they will not be going out and coming back having consumed alcohol. And even our floor staff on that floor makes that commitment.
Yeah, it's a great commitment to know that you've got a safe place if that's something that you're looking for, to be able to make that request.
Absolutely. Some students, that's not their interest, and they prefer to be on a substance-free floor. We also have gender inclusive floors for students who are not necessarily of the same gender but want to room together. So it's actually not a floor, it's room assignment. So if on the residence information form you answer yes to, are you interested in gender inclusive assignment, you could be rooming with someone who presents differently than you, or you can request someone who is a different gender than you are.
Yeah, that's great. Just another way that residence is making the experience even more inclusive, to know that you have the safe space to be able to say those things and to be partnered with someone who is committed to making you feel safe and included. Completely. Awesome. Maybe I'll ask you one more question, and then there's one in the chat that I'll take right at the end. But I know a big thing for residents that students start to do right about now is think about what in the world they need to pack. And I know there's some things that we don't want them to bring, and there's some things that they should really think about bringing. What are a few things you might highlight to students at this stage who are planning to live in residence in the fall?
Well, you definitely want to make that room your home. You want to feel comfortable in it, and students take great pride in their decorating and so on. So we certainly encourage, you are required to bring your own linens, and move-in is just such a treat to be seeing all these things coming in, the big boxes and so on. So definitely you are to bring your own linen, so your bedding, your towels, and that type of thing. We do not allow candles, and you cannot bring your own fridge. So keep that in mind if parents are interested in getting you that as a grad present or something like that. There's a multitude of reasons why that doesn't work out in residence, people bringing in their own fridges. So we do work with a company called Coldex, where you can rent a fridge and it's brought right to your room, and at the end of the year it'll be removed for you, and all you have to do is make sure you've cleaned it out. So no work for you there. But certainly we want you to bring posters, we want you to bring plants, students put up twinkly lights, pictures from home, pillows, all of that type of thing that's going to make you feel like this is your place.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to see how students decorate their rooms. And we posted a link in the Q&A of what to bring and what is it like moving in. So definitely a few pages that you'll want to check out if you're planning to live in residence. And I lied one. I'm going to ask you one more question. Maybe I can ask you, what is your one piece of advice for students moving into residence in the fall to make the most out of their experience?
I'm so glad you asked that question. That's a perfect question. My advice for someone who has seen 2,500 to 3,600 students go through every single year, my advice is to come to residence with an open mind. Honestly, you are not going to be in high school anymore. You are going to have the opportunity to find the people who are most like you. You are going to, there will be so many different groups of people, and you will have the opportunity to make these friendships. So keep your mind open. Yes, you may miss home, but just be ready to embrace this transition. It's such a wonderful opportunity. No one knows whether you were the most popular, whether you were the loner. This is your chance to really be who you want to be, and embrace that, and you will go far.
Awesome. I love that so much. What a great piece to kind of wrap up on. I know there's a couple of questions in the chat and we'll continue to answer those. But thanks, Wanda, for joining us and answering so many of those questions. I think that'll set our students up really well.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. And as Caitlin said, don't forget June the 8th. That's the most important date ever. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night.
Awesome, and thanks so much, all of you, for some of those really great questions, for tuning in, for getting some info. I know we've had some questions come in. I think we've answered a good number of them. For trying to meet roommates and people, I think I saw a question come in about that. It's really all about the student experience. If you, right, there are generally a number of social media groups that pop up every year for committed Carleton students, but the best thing that you can do is start to get involved as early as possible. You've done that today by coming to an event like this. But keep an eye out for events that are popping up for maybe your specific program. We have events coming up for areas like political science and humanities. And if those are programs that you're interested in, chances are you'll see some other students who are also interested in those. And when it comes to finding out your roommate, right, we'll assign you a roommate if you haven't assigned yourself to a roommate group, and you'll get introduced to them later on in the summer. So you have a chance to potentially say hello before you arrive. But a lot of our students meet their roommates when they arrive, and I think it was one of the best experiences for me as a residence fellow, was to see people find their roommates and find their friends and get introduced to each other and really just create the best opportunities for themselves there in the fall. And I think there's often some questions about space for hockey gear and bicycles and those pieces, and there isn't necessarily specific storage rooms in every space. A lot of that is in your room unless you're on a varsity team. But if you have concerns for storage for certain specific items, or you have questions about the residence experience, the residence information form, or anything about residence, you can always reach out to our residence team at residence@carleton.ca, and they'll be able to answer a number of those questions. You may even hear back from Wanda with some information on how to prepare for the fall. So if you have any residence-specific questions, residence@carleton.ca will be the place that you reach out to. You can also find a lot of the information on their website at housing.carleton.ca. If you have questions about admission or other pieces on your admissions offer, all of those things that are coming up at this time, you can always reach our office at admissions@carleton.ca or check us out at admissions.carleton.ca. I think you're starting to see the pattern on how the websites work. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Carleton_future. Our TikTok is always one of my favorites. There's some really cool videos up there now, so definitely go and check them out. And I'm sure there'll be more to come. So keep an eye on those spaces and keep an eye on our upcoming events, right? This Live at 5 is a great way to get started. We run these every Wednesday at 5 p.m. So next week, we're going to be chatting about transitioning and preparing for your first year at Carleton. What can that look like? What opportunities are available? What is orientation? A lot of those pieces. So if that's something you have questions about, come out and join us again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then stay tuned to admissions.carleton.ca for more events to come. So we've learned a lot. We've gone over a lot of information. I hope that this has been informed and insightful for you. Hopefully it's answered some of the questions that were floating out there in your mind. If there's more, you know that you can always reach out to continue the conversation. But I hope that this has also gotten you really excited, that you're so excited for where you could be living, for creating your new home away from home, and for spending more time on Carleton's campus. If you walk away today with one thing, remember that the residence deadline is a really important deadline to meet. It will be one of the first of many deadlines to come in your university experience, but make sure that you're accepting your residence offer before June 8th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so that you don't miss out on this exciting opportunity. But thanks so much for joining us. We'll stick around for another minute or two to answer any questions, but that is it for me. That's all of the information that I have to share for you today. We really hope to see you at CU in the fall, and connect with you if you have any questions before then. But have a great night, everyone.